So much has happened. I'm about 400 pages in now, and let's jump into the huge news. So we find out that it was actually Moradin who saved Rand in Shadar Logoth. So this begs the question, why? Why would he do that? And I have some theories, so bear with me. We also find out from the dream conversation between Rand and Moradin that Moradin knows when the Dark One wins, he completely will destroy everything. Maybe not immediately, but everything will cease to exist, is how I understood it. And what this meant to me was, I believe that Moradin can be turned. Not because I think he's a good guy, but it was made very clear that he follows logic. So if Rand or someone else can provide a logical solution, because it's clear Moradin doesn't want everything to end, regardless of how bad of a person you are, you would like things to continue, I would think. So if someone can provide a logical explanation as to how our guys are going to win, I think Moradin may take it. However, that's not why he saved Rand. I believe it's very clear that the reason the Dark One wants to keep Rand around is because he believes he could be very useful as Nabliss still. So we see Semirhage being broken out by essentially the Dark One, the huge Midril that he uses. She is given the male Adem, and Elza, is it? The Dark Friend basically turns coat and helps out to break her free. And then what happens is she puts the male Adem on Rand. Rand essentially becomes emotionless, becomes inhuman, and manages to touch the same source that the Dark One uses, his power, from my understanding, and uses it to completely destroy Semirhage. Oh my god. So there's a lot to unpack here. The very first thing is Rand being able to use the Dark One's source. What does that mean? So, in my opinion, I think it means the Dark One obviously gave him access to it, like made it available for him, but I also think that Rand is becoming inhuman. There was a clear moment where he got rid of all of his emotions. He became very cool, calm, collected, and really cut off his humane side. And that was the moment when it became aware to him. Like he could see this source, sense this source, and he took a hold of it. And I really think the Dark One is essentially trying to recruit him as Nabliss, and he planned out that entire thing for Semirhage to lose, because I don't think anyone can access the Dark One's source without his permission. So why would he give him permission when he'd already been caught? Now, do I think just if you have permission you can use it? No, I think you also need to get rid of a lot of your emotions and become quite inhumane, which is what the Chosen probably had to do as well. So, you know, Rand is well on his way to succumbing to the Dark One's manipulations, and that's really scary. Just before this, Min discovers in one of Herod Fell's books essentially a side note that he puts in about the Dark One, and I'll quote, I'm going to read it here. Belief and order give strength. You have to clear the rubble before you can build. We'll explain when I see you next. Do not bring the girl too pretty. So what does this mean? I don't really know, but it's pretty clear that we have to break the Dark One out. Like, that is something Lews Therin agrees on, Rand seems to agree on, Min seems to agree on, everyone's in agreement with that. But what does that mean? Like, to clear that, to recreate the prison again? I don't know. My head is telling me there's something much more suspicious in what's going on than the Dark One believing that Rand is just going to be Nabliss. Now, I'm not intelligent enough to put all the pieces together, but I just have some weird idea that it's much more complicated than I think it is. I feel like maybe Rand becomes the Dark One and the Dark One disappears when he's destroyed, or I don't know, some kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is a terrible prediction just because it's not even a whole thought. And normally I like to think things out before I come on and record the video, but I really want to get back to reading the book. So yes, that's my half thought out brainchild on what I think is going to happen. Maybe Rand becomes something similar to the Dark One and evil. So we will see. And then we shoot to the White Tower and we get one of the most epic and satisfying scenes of the entire series. So Egwene essentially checks Aleida in the meeting with all of the sitters. And Aleida just loses her mind. She starts attacking Egwene with the power. All the sitters are there to see it. And I thought in my head, this is it. It's over. She is going to be stopped by one of them, and that's going to be it finished. But no, the White Tower has fallen so far. None of them even stopped Aleida blatantly assaulting someone with the power who couldn't fight back. But we did get an awesome scene where Egwene screams at her. I don't know if she screams it. It felt like she screamed it, just calling her a coward and just sticking it on her, saying everything that everyone already knows to her face. And yeah, I can't think of many other scenes that were as satisfying and overdue as that scene was. And I really thought that was going to be it. I thought that they were going to be stopped, and they were going to put I thought that Aleida was going to be stopped, and the sitters would just unanimously vote to have Egwene as the Aemilian seat. And that might still happen, but right now she's being beaten and put into a dungeon. I mean, people are coming to visit her, but yeah, it doesn't seem to have the effect that I thought it was going to. But Gawain has entered the fray. He has come across to Gareth Byrne, and he wants to host some kind of rescue. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, obviously, but in my mind, I always wanted Egwene to resolve the White Tower situation before any of the rebels came in to rescue her. I now question whether that's going to happen. I feel like what's probably going to happen is Gawain's going to come in and try and break her out, and all of her army as well. But maybe at the same time, the Seanchan actually do their attack on the White Tower. So it's like all in perfect synchronization. And then maybe the rebels can oust the attack from the Seanchan. But again, I don't know. All these storylines are so up in the air. It's so exciting to be reading Wheel of Time right now. This book has been amazing. We also know now that Sheriam has always been a snake in the grass. She's a dark friend. She was probably, almost definitely, the one that betrayed Egwene and said that she was going to turn the gates into Swindler. I didn't look how to pronounce that. The super hard stuff. So yeah, that is troubling. And it becomes apparent that Messana actually comes and visits. So Messana comes and visits Sheriam and says we need to get rid of Egwene now. So what that probably means is Sheriam's going to push someone else to become Aemilian seat from the rebel camp as soon as possible to try and discredit Egwene while she's in the White Tower, because she needs to. She also has to steal all of the Terangrials that allow everyone into Teleramriod. So that's a really difficult task. I'm interested to see how Sheriam's going to go about this, but I really hope we get some kind of resolution to the White Tower. If I could choose which storyline gets resolved this book, I would definitely choose that one. But obviously, it doesn't work like that. So we will see what happens. And speaking of Dark Friends, although I love all of our main characters, and I highly doubt anyone that we read from their perspective ends up being a Dark Friend, I do think it would be very juicy, to say the least, I don't know if that's the best word, if somebody that I do know and love, who's like, you know, relatively a main character, ends up being a Dark Friend. I feel like I would respect the story even more, and I respect this story to the maximum already because it's epic, if something like that happened. I feel like it's the knife in the gut, the wrench that just basically, I don't know, it just adds to the story. It just adds depth and layers. So I don't know who I want it to be. I can't think of a single character that I know and love that I would be happy to be a Dark Friend, but I don't know. I hope something along those lines happen, but you know, as Jordan would say, read and find out. And then we move to Cadsuane. So we go back in time a little bit to when Semirhage was still trapped, and Cadsuane comes in and basically spanks her. And I tried to make a guess as to what she was going to do in the video before, and I wasn't too far off, some kind of like basic humiliation and pointlessness, and it was so satisfying. I've said since I met Cadsuane that she is awesome. I've been a huge Cadsuane supporter, and it's quite clear from the comments that that is actually quite, I don't know about polarizing, but she's not everybody's favorite character. Some people really don't like her, but I think that she is a badass. But after the incident with Semirhage, Rand banishes Cadsuane, and not only banishes Cadsuane, but he seems to be this emotionless, a little bit soulless, inhuman guy, and he has this like warp around him as well. So I got to thinking, like, not only is banishing Cadsuane a really bad idea, but number two, what is that warp around him? Is he like ripping apart what is supposed to happen? Because the final battle has to happen, right? But not if he goes kind of evil before it does. But does it matter if he's evil or not? Or is the only important thing is that he fights and defeats the Dark One, not who he is afterwards? Like, if he wins and lives, what's he gonna be? So many questions have come from this section of the book. But with Cadsuane gone, it's a clear play that the Chosen are taking. The Dark One and the Chosen have identified the key players, the real Aes Sedai, as they were, that could put a halt to their plans. And so far, they've chosen Egwene and they've chosen Cadsuane. And their goal is to get rid of these people because they are too much of a nuisance and will be a thorn in the side of their plans. So, do I think they're going to be successful? I mean, they already are a little bit successful with Cadsuane. Where's Cadsuane going to go next? Knowing this wily fox, will she give up on Rand? I think right now she might take a break from Rand. She seems to be actually afraid, and he's pretty much told her he's going to kill her if he sees her again, which makes me dislike Rand a lot. Where's she going to go? I think she's smart enough to know that she needs to find Mat or she needs to find Perrin. And she just needs to help them, the other Ta'veren, in any way that they can. So my prediction is that Cadsuane goes and helps one of them. So on to Sanderson's writing. In the first 200 pages, I was just so excited about the story continuing that I don't think I delved very deeply into the differences between writing. Have I enjoyed Sanderson's writing? Yeah, it has been pretty good. I like the directness of it. I like the fact that I don't have to read about skirts being smoothed, and I don't have to hear a description of every woman's bosom when we meet them, or even if we met them 100 times, for some reason their bosom comes up. But when I compare the two, I definitely think, and someone put this in the comments really, really well. They kind of explained how I was feeling really, really well. Sanderson lets you come to your own conclusions. Sorry, Jordan lets you come to your own conclusions. Jordan sometimes has scenes where you understand and you get what the character is going through and the character doesn't. And sometimes the character understands what is happening and what they're seeing, and you as the reader don't become privy to that. And I just think it's such a clever way and such a realistic way to tell a story. Now, is Jordan's style meandering? Yes, it's meandering. There are long parts of some books, even whole books, that like not much happens and it feels like a lot of unnecessary information, but I miss it. I really miss it now that it's gone. I believe that Sanderson is going to do a great job. Clearly the book that I'm reading right now is like his first attempts as well, so I assume it gets a bit more seamless and a bit better. He probably adapts to the writing styles. For example, I didn't like Mat's chapters very much. I feel like he completely missed the essence of Mat. But yeah, the difference is quite stark now that I'm about halfway through this book, and I miss Jordan, and we all do. But you know, that's no hate on Sanderson at all. I'm sure picking up someone else's work is very difficult, almost an impossible task because of the level of detail and depth that Jordan goes to. But yeah, I suppose what I'm saying is I miss Jordan. One final thing that was actually very interesting was when Gawain met Gareth Byrne, the tension between their ideals when it comes to their mother was very, very interesting. So Gawain still believes that his mother was this saint. She ruled amazingly well, and obviously he wasn't privy to that period of time where Gabriel was controlling her with compulsion, and Gareth Byrne was. So we actually have a lot riding on Morgaze coming back and spilling the beans and spilling the truth, and I feel like that's going to be really emotional, and I'm very much looking forward to that scene if we get it. So my question for you, and normally I always answer these questions with my ideas, but I just want to open this up to you guys. Would you rather have Robert Jordan pen you as a character in one of his books and really study you and go into descriptions of what he thinks and have you act this way and that way? Would you more enjoy reading yourself as a Robert Jordan character, or would you more enjoy reading yourself as a Brandon Sanderson character? Now, it's difficult for me to answer because I've only read half a book of Brandon Sanderson, and it's also difficult to judge him on that because it's not his book. He's adapting, not so much maybe his whole writing style, but definitely some of it, the ideas, and trying to continue someone else's work. So I don't feel like I can judge Sanderson yet. But for those of you who have read more of Sanderson, maybe some of his bigger series, because I've read none, who would you prefer to pen you? Would you rather read yourself be penned in Brandon Sanderson's worlds and from his descriptions of you, if he knew you, or from Robert Jordan's? I'm very interested to hear your answers, and I am going to get back to reading because this book has got me absolutely hooked. I will see you next week on Sunday, 10 a.m. Central Time. I cannot wait.